Hey everyone, Coach Will here, and I'm excited to talk about a fascinating and incredibly powerful aspect of communication today: code switching. Now, you might have heard this term before, especially if you live or work in a multilingual, multicultural environment. It is something many of us probably do naturally without even realizing it. The last time we talked about formal and informal language registers, how you change your outfit of words, so to speak, depending on the situation. Well, code switching is the act of consciously or unconsciously adjusting the way you speak, your style, or even your entire language to fit different social contexts or audiences. It is not just about switching between English and another language. It's also about switching between different registers or dialects within the same language. It's a sign of high linguistic intelligence and adaptability. Let's dig in and understand why we do it and how you become more aware of your own code switching. I am going to play right now the first of two videos for you. See if you can recognize the code switching and understand what it is.
No me digas. Qué risa. Sí, y entonces él. Oh, hi, Susan.
Yes, the report is almost ready.
Okay, did you pick up on that? The first woman and the man were having a conversation in Spanish, which was probably their natural language. But when the second woman came in, they switched to English to make her feel more included in the conversation. I'm guessing that Spanish was not her natural language. So they switched languages to make everyone feel more included. Okay, check out this next video. This is going to be a different type of code switching. See if you can tell what it is.
So the quarterly reports show a significant increase in engagement.
That's excellent news.
Yo, what's good, sis? You trying to slide to the spot later?
Okay, that last video was a little funny because at the end there was a woman's voice, should have been a man's voice, but that's AI for you. But what did you think of it, though? What did you think of? What type of code switching did you think that was? At its core, code switching is about flexibility in communication. It can be between two different languages. For example, speaking English with your teacher, but then switching to Spanish with your family. It can be between different dialects or accents. For instance, using a more standard accent in a professional setting, but a regional accent with old friends. And most relevant to our last lesson, it's about switching between registers within the same language, moving from formal English to informal English, or vice versa, depending on who you're talking to and where you are. It's a dynamic process, like a skilled musician changing instruments to play different parts of a song. So, why do people code switch? There are many reasons, and they're often quite strategic. To adapt to your audience. This is probably the most common reason. You want to make sure the person you're talking to understands you and feels comfortable. You wouldn't use highly technical jargon with someone unfamiliar with your field, just as you wouldn't use slang in a job interview. Example, using formal English when emailing a potential employer, but informal English when texting a friend about the same job. To show solidarity or belonging. When you use the same language or style as a group, it signals that you are part of that group. It builds rapport and connection. Example, using local slang or a particular accent when you're back in your hometown, even if you typically use standard English in your professional life. To express identity. Sometimes code switching is a way to express different parts of your identity, your cultural background, your professional role, or your personal relationships. Example, a doctor might use medical terminology with colleagues, but switch to a simpler, everyday language when explaining a diagnosis to a patient. To clarify or emphasize a point, if you're struggling to explain something in one language or register, you might switch to another to make yourself clearer or to add emphasis. An example, you're explaining a complex concept in English, but then you briefly use a phrase in your native language to ensure a specific nuance is understood by someone who shares that language. To maintain privacy, sometimes people code switch to discuss something that they don't want others around them to understand. Example, speaking in your native language with a friend in a public place where others only speak English. So let's discuss some examples of code switching. From formal to informal, and back. You're in a formal business meeting using phrases like, I would like to propose, or we must address this issue. Then, during a coffee break with a trusted colleague, you might switch to, this meeting is dragging, isn't it? Or I'm a bit worried about this project. You code switch from formal to informal. Next, from standard English to a more casual style. You might write a formal essay using complex sentences and academic vocabulary, but then you're chatting online with a gaming community and you use abbreviations, emojis, and very short direct sentences. That's code switching. Between English and your native language, you're having a conversation with a group of friends. Some are native English speakers, and some share your native language. You might speak mostly English, but then briefly switch to your native language to tell a quick inside joke to a friend who understands it, and then switch back to English. The power of being able to consciously code switch. You're culturally aware. You recognize and respect different social norms. Adaptable. You can adjust your communication style to fit any situation. Perceptive. You can read the room and understand what kind of language is appropriate. For you as an English learner and beyond, becoming aware of code switching is a huge step towards sounding more natural and confident and diverse in English speaking. Okay, the last video I'm going to show you. Now, this one is a little bit more exaggerated, but it's funny, and I want you to get the real idea of code switching. So check this one out.
Hola, amiguita.
Hola, amiguita, ¿cómo estás?
Qué chula te ves. Te veo. Oh, hey.
How you doing?
I'm better now. Oh, hey, Black Queen.
Hey, Black Queen.
How you doing, girl? Get poppin'. ¿Qué lo que, Gabriel?
Tú sabes, aquí tranquilo quieto.
Tú sabes. Oh, good morning.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. How was your weekend?
It was good. How was yours?
I was good. I was good. I went hiking.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Good.
Have a good one.
You too.
Now, while code switching is a powerful tool, it is also important to acknowledge that it is not always a positive experience. Sometimes it can have downsides, especially for individuals from marginalized groups or when it's done out of pressure rather than choice. Here are a few situations where code switching can be negative. Feeling inauthentic or fake. Constantly changing your language or style can make you feel like you're not being your true self. It can be exhausting to always monitor your speech and behavior to fit in. This can lead to feelings of stress, anxiety, or even identity conflict. Exclusion and misunderstanding. While code switching can build rapport within a group, it can also unintentionally exclude others who don't understand the code. If you switch to a different language or a very specific slang, those outside that linguistic circle might feel left out or confused. Reinforcing stereotypes or power dynamics. In some cases, people feel forced to code switch to avoid negative stereotypes associated with their natural way of speaking, their accent, or their cultural background. This can reinforce the idea that one way of speaking is better or more professional, which is simply not true. It puts an unfair burden on individuals to conform to dominant norms. Increased cognitive load. The act of constantly analyzing a situation, deciding which register to use, and then actively adjusting your language takes mental effort. This cognitive load can be tiring and even lead to burnout, especially if you're doing it frequently throughout your day. So while code switching is often a necessary skill for navigating diverse social environments, it's crucial to be aware of these potential challenges. Okay, we've come to the end of another class. Thank you so much for joining this lesson with me about code switching. Your task now is to become a code switching detective. Observe. Pay attention to how native speakers or even advanced non-native speakers adjust their language in different situations. Listen for changes in vocabulary, sentence structure, and tone. Reflect. Think about your own communication. When do you naturally switch your language or style? And practice. Constantly try to adapt your language. If you're writing a formal email, double check for contractions or slang. If you're chatting with friends, allow yourself to be more relaxed. Again, I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I'll see you next class.